Terezín concentration camp, where over 33,000 people died, there were artists and musicians who answered despair and death with their creativity. Now, Our Will to Live is an exploration of that astonishing cultural community through a series of 26 concert critiques written by Viktor Ullmann, a composer who had been a prisoner there. And through these critiques, Ullmann draws us into this world. In a sense, he's our eyes and ears, if you will, as to a vast array of cultural activities that took place within the walls of Terezin. And what Ullman does is give us insights into the great, I would say, creativity, but the strengths of these performers. We get a sense of, their personalities. And this is a real assortment of amateur and professional artists who, in a sense, transported their fellow prisoners from the death and deprivation of Terezin. It gave them a moment for hope. It was a defiant call, if you will, of survival. And it was also an escape for these prisoners from the realities of, the uncertainty of being put on a transport, which would be a transport to Auschwitz. And so with these critiques, there are over 200 pieces of artwork from the Hermann collection. These are works of concert posters, scenes depicting the cultural activities, and then some of these wonderful sketches of these artists that complement the critiques. And a lot of these images are being seen for the very first time. And to further immerse the reader into this experience, we also have a series of vintage recordings. And these recordings involve Yo-Yo Ma, members of the Boston Symphony, and I think, most importantly, a number of survivors from Terezin. I think they were sharing something that was beyond their gifts. They're sharing, it's almost a cautionary tale, if you will, of be careful of what you lose if you do not take care of the things you value in society. In this book, we have stories not only of these artists, but of these survivors who later on in the book share what the arts meant to them and what they continue to mean for some of them. For example, Susanna Ruzicova, a survivor and a world-famous harpsichordist, she would talk about having an inner bank account. And she'd say the inner bank account is when you are storing in your experiences of literature, of music, of drama, all the art forms, if you will. And you're building up your inner bank account because she said one day you may be in a position where you despair. And what do you have to draw from? And that is the inner bank account that one will always need. This is a Renaissance person. He's drawing from music, art history, politics, from so many levels. And I think it's astounding when he's quoting great figures too, from different disciplines. And his library is his mind. It's not like today we could Google something or that he had this vast library that he could draw from. He is, if you can imagine, either writing on paper, which is also scarce commodity in the concentration camp. He's either writing these critiques or if he gets once in a while access to a typewriter. And you see this in the book because we have facsimiles of every one of these critiques. And that he's able to draw from such a vast reservoir of knowledge from different disciplines. And so he's sharing his intellect, he's sharing his insights into these artists. And he's also giving us a bit of a window into the landscape of Terezin, where the hardships, the, the uncertainty of being put on a transport, the deprivation, the overcrowding, and yet he admires, if you will, the creative determination of his fellow prisoners. I'd like to believe that these artists also would want for us that, one, they inspire us, but they challenge us to value the arts, and that it is not cliche to say that we survive on art as well. If you're allowed to bring only up to about 50 kilos into the concentration camp, what you decide to bring in. And of course, we'd all think about our physical survival, food, clothing, layers of clothing, maybe a few photographs of loved ones. But to go and bring instrument in, or paint, paper, music, sheet music, I mean, that's the cost, if you will, of something else. So you've decided that that is so integral to your survival as well. And I think that is one of the great lessons too that they're sharing with us. Just how important the arts are to our survival, to our humanity. And maybe on a further level to challenge us, what do we lose when we single out a group of people? What do we lose when we oppress, when we suppress, when we cut off our opportunities to bring people into the fabric of our society? And I think of all the people who have been involved to make this book possible. I think of all the survivors who were involved in it. Unfortunately, a lot of them are no longer with us, but I'm hoping in spirit that they will be pleased with it. And that would take me full circle to why I'm sitting here at Steidlville. Because to create a book like this, you want to create a work of art. The amount of time and care to make this book with Gerhard, Holger, and Siggy, not only the quality of the paper, the ink, the design, the flow of the book, right? That this was not just something that's thrown together, right? But we have created something that is part of the testimony to what these people were about. And throughout the book, we, on a very personal level, I find, you look at the footnotes. Every artist we try to put their transport number in, their birth and death dates. Where did they die? Something about them, so that you realize that they were human beings. They were a universe of potential. And not to be forgotten, and also in a sense for us to value those around us now.